Hey guys, hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, a little update as to what's going on with my channel. I'm pretty sure that my lack of old school RuneScape content has been rather obvious, but I feel like I've been kind of not giving you guys an explanation or clearing the air as to what's up. So I'd like to go ahead and give you guys a rundown on what's going on with me and my plans going forward for the channel. So back in May, my grandma passed away, and I had to travel out to Colorado, where she and my grandpa lived. My grandpa, of course, was really struggling with adjusting to life without the girl of his dreams in his life, and understandably so. They had been together for 65 years, and they did everything together. So he kind of had to take on a lot of things that he didn't have to do for those 65 years. Anyways, without getting lost in the weeds, I, along with my mother, went out to stay with him and help him get back on his feet after the funeral and all the arrangements had been taken care of. This did result in me being unable to really play old school RuneScape during all of that time that I was out there, which was roughly a month at first. Those of you who had been following my UIM series may be aware that I was aiming to max by the end of 2023, but I was also really behind schedule already due to some shifts and priorities in my life, which I'll briefly touch on later. With the month I was gone, as well as the fact that I ended up going back out again at the end of August for another week and a half, I've gone from being pretty behind schedule to having no realistic path to maxing by the end of the year. In addition to that, between my trips out west, I had to remax my Iron Man on RuneScape 3, which is the same account as my UIM on old school, due to the addition of necromancy. Again, hold on to that because there will be a bit more relevance to that whole thing in a bit. So, in addition to everything else that was going on, my relationship that I was in came to a sudden end just before I went out to Colorado for my grandma's funeral. And again, for those of you who had followed my content back in March, my fluffy white cat named Berlioz died. And just 3 days after my grandma died, I had to put another one of my cats down because there being no realistic expectation of a good quality of life for her. So kind of just a lot of shit just happened like in fairly quick succession. A little break between the March thing and then May, but still, I mean, within a couple of months, just a lot had happened. So as for me being behind schedule with the UIM goals, this was basically a result of me prioritized trying to make my relationship work, which ultimately ended in failure on my part. And so yeah, basically 2023 for me has been a pretty rough ride, and my headspace has been a bit less than ideal as a result. This brings me back to remaxing my Iron in RuneScape 3. My overall takeaway from the new skill was that it felt rushed and not very well balanced to the rest of the game. It was completely busted for some content, as well as being trivial to get tier 90 gear. Something that I still didn't really have for melee, magic, and ranged, because for all the other styles, it was actually, still a challenge to get, gear. You had to go PVM for it. Necro, it's just get the skill, do the little mini quest, and you're done. You get your gear. It's really not hard. And it really kind of made a lot of PVM content into kind of a joke, and I felt that it really devalued the importance of the original 3 combat styles. At the point when I did get 99 Necromancy and remaxed my Iron, I felt that there was, if making a new account, I really felt that there would be no reason to use melee, magic, or ranged at all in RuneScape 3 until getting T90 Necro gears, and then use the busted imbalance of Necro to farm T90 melee ranged magic, as needed, basically. And I'm sure there's be exceptions to that, but I really felt like it completely trivialized like 90% of the combat gear progression and relegated a huge portion of content in the game into irrelevancy. So this revelation cascaded into my feelings about old school RuneScape. I have been concerned about how sailing would affect the game, and while it's maybe not as stark of a dynamic shift as Necromancy was in RuneScape 3, I really was already kind of like less than thrilled about sailing being seriously considered as a real skill for the game. and it kind of sounded like a mini game at best to me, and I really was not a big fan of having that forced on me in order to max my UIM. And yes, honestly, out of the options that were presented, sailing was the absolute least interesting to me by an enormous margin, and there's that. Now, of course, these are just my feelings, and I don't expect the game to be balanced and developed in accordance to my feelings, but I'll be honest with you guys, I felt quite alienated by the literal April Fool's joke skill being seriously considered and developed for the game. Especially at a time where I was pushing myself to max my UIM after all the work I put into it, and as well as, there still being a huge grind ahead of me. My concern at this point kind of is that I would finally finish maxing the UIM and then immediately lose max cape due to sailing getting added, or even worse, getting within a couple of weeks of maxing and then having sailing added. So this sentiment, coupled with my overall sense that I was just kind of already spinning my wheels at that point, I really feel like I had no proper entry point into like endgame PVM stuff like Theater of Blood, just because I don't really trust people, and group content, not trusting people doesn't really jive too well. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm more of a solitary player. Like that's my play style. It just always has been. A true DIY, as it were. And I don't know, it felt like to me like, I'm never going to be able to reach really my full potential in old school RuneScape. And that, I don't know, it was something that I was kind of like thinking about, and I didn't really voice it, my concern about that, but it was definitely a real concern that I had for a very long time. And, it is what it is. So anyways, this kind of brings me finally to what's really going to kind of like force my hand here, and that is with the fact that due to everything that's kind of gone down this year and my overall feeling that I'm kind of just pissing into the wind with all my efforts to do stuff. And then, I'll be honest with you guys, I was kind of pushed pretty close to my breaking point, just psychologically with my own personal struggles. I think it's time for me to make some changes in my life and turn the page into a new chapter. So I'm basically really seriously considering finally going back to school and getting on a proper career track. As things stand now, I'm looking at going to the local tech school here in town and getting some IT related degree, and I'm sure that comes as no surprise for those of you that have seen the other content on my channel with the server hardware that I work with and stuff. But and I've alluded to it. I've been very careful to steer clear from explicitly stating kind of the activities that I worked on, but I did do I have done over the years a lot with game development, and I think it's realistically a good option for me to kind of get into the software development field, and so over the next few months I should get a much better sense of what I'm likely going to end up doing here. But in the meantime, I think it's probably best for me to kind of clear my plate where I can, and so combined with my overall feelings about the game and my plans going forward, it seems to me that the most logical and sensible thing to do is going to be to stop playing old school RuneScape. And those of you who do have me added in game will have already noticed that I haven't logged in for well over a month at this point. So perhaps this comes as a bit less of a surprise to you guys, but for the rest of you guys, yeah. So with all of that being said, I'm not planning on really quitting making content here on YouTube. I still have been playing a lot of single player games and other games that I can kind of pick up and put down, when I have the time and the will to do so. And of course there's the bit of stuff with music that I've been fiddling around with modular synthesizers. So that's been kind of something that I've been working on and looking into doing for more of just like a hobby and some fun. Another thing that I have been considering also with content for my channel is maybe doing some type of like vlogging of either my studies or just the process of getting into school or any of that. I don't know exactly what that would look like or how that would materialize exactly, but I do kind of plan to do something along those lines. Maybe like weekly updates or something. I obviously my focus is going to definitely be on school and getting my studies done, but if I have some time that I can carve out for that for vlogging that. I think that might be something kind of fun. So I do fear that my decision here to end my old school RuneScape content production is probably not going to sit very well with at least some of my viewers. So for those of you who end up unsubscribing or otherwise disassociating from my channel and content, I do wish you all the best and hope that you can find an adequate replacement for my old school RuneScape content. But I would definitely encourage the rest of you guys to stick around because I still do have a lot of plans going forward, and I'd like for you guys to join me on those adventures. So I'm going to try to get something in the works in the next couple weeks here for some type of a new series. But in the meantime, I do want to just thank you guys for all of your support and engagement over the last couple years here. And I really look forward to building an even better, brighter future for my channel. And I hope that you fine folks will stick around with me and join me on those adventures to come. Anyways, with all of that being said, stay safe, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And stay tuned because I will definitely have something in the works soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.